Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone. Has someone ever made you feel like your memory couldn't be trusted? Like you were too sensitive, too dramatic, or somehow always too much? If you have ever sat alone in a quiet room and wondered, am I the problem? Then I want you to stop whatever you're doing right now. Because what I'm about to share with you today may be the most important conversation you've never been allowed to have. Welcome, beautiful soul. My name is Shar Hosname, and I am a psychologist who has spent decades sitting with women just like you. Women who are brilliant, capable, deeply loving, and yet somehow found themselves shrinking. Women who learned over time to doubt their own instincts. Women who stopped trusting the quiet, wise voice inside them because someone, somewhere, told them that voice was wrong. Today, we are going to change that. Together. Today is not about blame. It is not about anger, though there may be some of that, and that is perfectly okay. Today is about something far more sacred. Today is about coming home to yourself. Before we can heal anything, we have to be brave enough to name it. Gaslighting. It's a word that gets used often now, but I want to make sure we understand what it truly means, not as an accusation, but as a description of an experience. Emotional gaslighting is what happens when someone in your life, a spouse, a parent, a child, a close friend, consistently causes you to question your own perception of reality. It sounds like you're being too sensitive. That never happened. No one else has a problem with this, just you. I was only joking. Why do you have to make everything so serious? Over time. And it is always over time, never all at once. Those words become the air you breathe. You stop checking in with your own feelings. You start checking in with what other people say your feelings should be. And here's what I want to say to you with the full weight of everything I know. That is not weakness. That is not foolishness. That is a completely normal, deeply human response to being in a relationship where your reality was not safe. Your mind was trying to protect you by adapting. By learning the rules of an unsafe environment, the problem was never your perception. The problem was the environment. You were not crazy. You were not too much. You were not the problem. You were a woman in pain, doing her very best. Now, there is a question that comes up in my office every single time I work with a woman recovering from this kind of emotional harms. She looks at me and asks, but why couldn't I see it? Why did it take me so long? And I tell her what I want to tell you right now in the most tender and direct way I know, because gaslighting is designed to be invisible. It is not the grand, obvious cruelty that announces itself. It is the slow, quiet erosion of your confidence, delivered by someone you loved in moments wrapped in what looked like ordinary life. Water doesn't crack a stone with one drop. It does it with 10,000 drops. Over years, the stone never sees it coming, but it is real. The erosion is real. And so is yours. You didn't lose yourself all at once. You gave yourself away one small accommodation at a time. Always trying to keep the peace, always choosing love over truth. That was not weakness. That was devotion misplaced. And you can redirect it back to yourself. Let's talk about what this actually does to the brain, because when you understand the science, you stop blaming yourself for not just getting over it. Our brains are built for connection. They are, at their core, relational organs. And when the person we love most becomes the primary source of confusion and self-doubt, something profound happens. Our nervous system learns to associate safety with agreement, not with truth. It begins to prioritize harmony over honesty. Over years, this becomes automatic, unconscious, a survival strategy. In psychology, we call this a form of cognitive dissonance, holding two truths at the same time that cannot coexist. I know what I experienced, and the person I love says it didn't happen. When that tension lives in you long enough, the mind finds a terrible solution. It dismisses its own truth to survive the relationship. That is not weakness. That is a neurological adaptation to an impossible situation. Now here is the extraordinary news, and I mean extraordinary. The brain that learned to doubt itself can also learn to trust itself again. Neuroplasticity, the brain's lifelong ability to change, rewire, and grow new patterns, does not retire at 50. It does not slow to a halt at 60 or 70. The research is beautiful and clear on this. Your capacity for healing is not diminished by the years you spent surviving. In many ways, it is deepened by them, because you at 55 or 60, 5 or 72, have something you didn't have at 25. You have perspective, you have resilience, you have walked through fire, and you are still here. And that, my friend, is not nothing. That is everything. Let me share something I have heard women say in my office that breaks my heart every single time. I feel like I don't even know who I am anymore. If that sentence landed somewhere deep in you just now, I see you. I know you. And I need you to hear this. You did not lose yourself. You buried yourself under years of managing someone else's reality, someone else's emotions, someone else's version of who you were allowed to be. But the self that was buried, she is not gone. She is not diminished. She is not even damaged beyond repair. She is waiting. Patient as only wisdom can be. Warm as only love can be. And the path back to her begins with a single powerful act, believing that your perception of your own life is worth trusting again. If you have a sister or a dear friend who has been made to feel small, who has started sentences with, maybe I'm wrong, but more times than she should, would you pause this video right now and share it with her? She needs to hear what comes next. The moment you stopped questioning your own perception and started questioning the relationship, that was not the beginning of destruction. That was the beginning of your healing. Over 20 years of working in this field, I have identified 5 specific ways that emotional gaslighting wounds a woman's sense of self. I'm going to walk you through each one, not to reopen pain, but so that you can finally name what happened and begin to release it. When someone consistently tells you that events you clearly remember didn't happen the way you remember them, they are stealing something sacred, your narrative, your own story. Over time, you stop trusting your memories. You start adding qualifiers. I think I might be wrong, but maybe I'm remembering this incorrectly. You became an unreliable narrator of your own life. Reclaiming this wound begins with a simple, radical act: keeping a journal, not to prove anything to anyone, but to remind yourself that your experiences are real, your memories are valid, and your story belongs to you. When your feelings were consistently labeled as too much, or too sensitive, or overreacting, you began to perform emotional management rather than feel emotions authentically. You became fluent in asking yourself, is this feeling allowed? Before you allowed yourself to feel it. Healing this wound means learning, perhaps for first time in years, to ask a different question. Not, is my feeling too much? But what is my feeling trying to tell me? Your emotions are not your enemy. They are your oldest and most loyal intelligence system. They have been trying to reach you for years. Now, we create the sanctuary, the quiet inner space, where you can finally listen. When your needs were consistently treated as burdens, your requests as demands, and your limits as obstacles, you learn to stop having them. Boundaries are not walls. They are not weapons. In the most beautiful and accurate definition I know, a boundary is simply the place where you end and another person begins. It is the line that defines your shape. When someone spends years making you feel guilty for having that shape, for occupying your rightful space, you begin to collapse inward, to minimize yourself, to apologize for your own existence. The healing work here is not dramatic. It is tender. It begins with identifying one small thing that matters to you, one preference, one need, one boundary, and honoring it, not for anyone else, just for you. A boundary is not a punishment you give someone else. It is a promise you make to yourself that your well-being is worth protecting. And you are allowed to keep that promise. Even when someone is uncomfortable with it, you stopped speaking your truth, not because you didn't have one, but because every time you tried to share it, it was twisted, dismissed, or used against you. You learned that speaking up cost too much, and so you went quiet. You answered questions with questions. You became fluent in the language of hedging and softening. You turned down the volume on your own voice until one day you weren't sure if you had one anymore. Your voice is still there. I promise you, it is still there. Finding it again is the most sacred work I know. This is the deepest one. When the person you loved most reflected back to you, consistently, an image of someone deficient, someone inadequate, irrational, lucky to be loved, that image began to feel like truth. But here is what I know with absolute certainty after 2 decades of this work. A reflection is not the same as reality. A mirror can be wrong. A mirror can be held at the wrong angle. A mirror can be held by someone who needed you to look small so they could feel large. The truth of who you are was never in that mirror. It was always in you. We've done the hard work of naming. Now let's talk about something I love deeply, something that gets called many things in psychology, but that I simply call it the turning. The turning is the moment, and it is almost always a moment, not a grand event, when something inside you says, enough, not with rage, not with drama, sometimes with nothing more than a quiet interior shift, a gentle but immovable I am worth more than this. For some of you, that turning happened years ago and you are still living in its aftermath, still figuring out what the new territory looks like. For some of you, it is happening right now, in this very moment, watching this video. And for some of you, and I say this with the deepest compassion, it has not happened yet, and that is okay too. The fact that you are here means something in you is getting ready. Healing is not linear. It is not a staircase you climb in tidy steps. It is more like a garden. Sometimes you water it, sometimes the frost comes, sometimes something blooms that you weren't expecting at all. And that's okay. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are exactly where you are, and where you are is the perfect place to begin. Let me give you something practical now, something you can begin today. I call it the 3-question practice. It takes 3 minutes, and you can do it anywhere. Every morning, before you check your phone, before you respond to anyone, sit quietly and ask yourself these 3 questions. Not what I should feel, not what I've been told to feel. What do I actually feel right now in this body, in this heart? Not what would make everyone else comfortable. What does this woman, this wise, beautiful, worthy woman actually need today to feel tended to? Not a grand gesture. A whisper is enough. A glass of water. A walk without purpose. Reading 1 chapter of a book you've been meaning to open. 5 minutes of silence that belongs entirely to you. This is how identity returns, not in floods, but in drops. Not in declarations, but in daily, faithful acts of self-honoring. You cannot reclaim a self that you are still abandoning every morning. The first act of healing is to show for yourself the way you showed up for everyone else. With patience, with presence, with the grace of someone who believes the effort is worth it. I also want to talk about something that is often the silent casualty of long-term emotional gaslighting. When you have been conditioned to doubt your own perceptions, it becomes very hard to trust your read of other people. You might have withdrawn from friendships. You might have become someone who over-apologizes, who second guesses her own presence, who wonders if she is too much even among women who love her. I want to offer you a gentle reframe. True friendship is one of the most powerful healing forces available to human beings. Not the friendship of advice, giving, or problem solving, though that has its place, but the friendship of being witnessed, of having someone look at you and say, without condition, I see you. I believe you. You matter. If you have that person in your life, reach toward her. Let her see you healing. Let her walk beside you in this. And if you know one woman today, one friend, one sister, one daughter, who has been made to feel like too much or not enough, would you share this video with her? Just send it with no explanation. Sometimes love shows up as a link. Now let's talk about who you were before. I want you to think back. Before this relationship, or this person, or this season of doubt, think back to a time when you knew, without being told, who you were. What did you love? What made you laugh until your sides ached? What kind of music did you turn up loud in the car? What book made you stay up past midnight? What dream did you have that you stopped mentioning because it was met with dismissal? Those things are not gone. They are dormant. They are waiting for permission to exist again. And here is the tender truth about identity. We do not reclaim it all at once. We reclaim it in the small, brave acts of returning to what we love. Taking the pottery class. Calling the friend you stopped calling. Cooking the meal you loved that was never appreciated. Writing the page that belongs to no one but you. In psychology, we talk about something called the authentic self, the core of who we are beneath our roles, beneath our accommodations, beneath the persona we built to survive. Your authentic self was never destroyed. It was protected, locked away, kept safe by the wiser part of you who knew the environment wasn't ready for it. And that wiser part of you, she knew something essential, that someday you would be in a room or standing in a moment or watching a video or sitting by a window and you would be ready. That someday the sanctuary would be available, that the space inside you would be safe enough finally to come home. Friend, I believe that someday is today. Your authentic self was never the woman they needed you to be. She is the woman you have always been. Beneath the accommodations, the apologies, the careful management of other people's comfort. She is still there. She has been waiting for you with extraordinary patience. And she is so glad you're finally coming home. I wanted to give you something before we close. I want to give you the beginning of a letter from the woman you are becoming to the woman you have been. You don't have to write it today, but let it live in you. Dear woman who has survived, I see what it cost you. The years of careful language, the years of making yourself small so that someone else could feel adequate, the years of apologizing for your feelings, your memories, your needs, your very nature. I want you to know that I do not see weakness when I look back at you. I see endurance. I see a woman who loved deeply and gave generously, even when generosity was not returned in kind. And now we are done shrinking. Now we are done asking permission. Now we are done qualifying our truths and hedging our hearts and making ourselves comfortable furniture in other people's lives. Now we take up our rightful space. Now we speak with our full voice. Now, with all the grace and all the wisdom that these years have given us, we come home. Before we part today, I want to offer you something, not a prayer in any one tradition, but a blessing, the kind that I believe transcends religion and speaks to the soul that is shared by every woman who has ever loved too much and believed it too little. May you find your way back to the woman you were before the world told you who to be. May you trust your own memory. May you trust your own feeling. May you trust the quiet, ancient voice inside you that has never once, not even in the darkest hour, stopped knowing your worth. May you speak your truth without apology. May you hold your boundaries without guilt. May you take up the space that is yours by sacred right. The space of a woman who has survived and who has chosen with full and open heart to live. May you receive from yourself the grace and patience and unconditional love that you have spent a lifetime giving to others. You are not too much. You have never been too much. You are exactly enough. And the world is richer, warmer, and more alive because you are in it. Heal slowly, heal fully, heal in your own time and in your own way. And know, wherever you are, whatever room you are sitting in right now, you are not alone in this. We are walking this path together. Thank you for being here today. If this touched something real in you, take 30 seconds right now and share this with one woman who needs to hear it. Your sister, your friend, your neighbor. The woman in your life who you've watched become quieter than she used to be. This might be the thing that reminds her she is worth finding again. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. Be honest with yourself. And above all else, be faithful to yourself. That woman inside you, she has been waiting a long time, and she is more than worth the journey home.